Hello, merry meet. So, I wanted to make a video about a question I very often get, both on these videos and my Facebook page and everywhere else when I discuss Magick. And that is can you tell me about a spell book with spells that work? Can you give me a really good spell for money? Can you give me a spell that works for... Do you see a pattern here? It's this search for the perfect spell book, the perfect spell, the spell that really works. And the problem is, and I'm going to be quite cruel in saying this, it doesn't matter which spell book I would recommend, it wouldn't work for you because you don't understand the basics of magic. The problem here is that this is very much still based in fantasy. In various stories of magic, you usually have the quest for the spell book. The quest for the spell. It's the spell that do something. It's the don't read Latin in front of the book Sander from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, where you have this spell that somebody completely unskilled can just perform these tasks laid out and you will get the result you want. The thing is, this isn't how magic really works. Now, here's the thing. A spell isn't like a recipe. With a recipe for food, you can, if you follow the instructions completely, you will end up with the result in the cookbook. If you put the same quantities of the same ingredients and cook it for as long on the right temperature, you will end up with the same result. Magic doesn't work like that. That's why we haven't been able to prove its existence to scientists. Because it is much more individual. So really, what is a good spell is a spell that resonates with you. That is why it's often so much more effective to make your own spells rather than just using a spell found in a book. Now, I'm not dissing using pre-made spells. I do that from time to time when I find one that I like. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I do have a little bit of a guilty pleasure in reading various forms of spell books. They are basically the trash literature of the occult world. Just collections of spells. I love that stuff. So I'm not dissing that, but it's often more effective to write it yourself because then you can include elements that resonates with you. For example, let me tell you about a very fond memory I have from my childhood. On Fridays, when I was in elementary school, we only had half days, so we got off school at about lunchtime. And my mom was working, so I usually then went to my grandparents' house. And they bought this bakery goods that's basically, it looks like a little horn. And there's lots of seeds sprinkled on top. I'm not sure what it's called in English. In Norwegian, it's just called horns. And they would make sandwiches out of those with ham and cheese. And we would all eat together and have lunch. And it was such a fun memory because it was a really yummy lunch. And also I was off school for the weekend. I had all of Friday and Saturday and Sunday to do whatever I wanted. So I always really enjoyed those lunches. So it's a very fond, happy memory for me. Now, let's say I write myself a spell to get out of a rut and combat depression. And get a boost of happiness. I might do something like this. I lay out a circle of yellow calcite. I add a few chants and requests to deity to either give me happiness and contentment, or remove sadness and depression. And then for the simple feast, I have that bakery made in that way. Now, for me, that can be really, really, really effective because it ties into happy childhood memories and as such give that boost of happiness. But even if I wrote that spell up, put it online, and you copied it, it wouldn't have that same effect for you because you don't have my memories. And it's the, or for that matter, let's say various forms of pop culture magic. I like it, it's effective for me, but if you think it's stupid and you just feel embarrassed doing it, chances are it will not work for you. You have to find a spell that works for you personally, that gives you those feelings personally. Because here's the thing. It's not the spell. This is the difference between real magic and what you very often find in fiction. The spells and the tools and so on is just that, they are tools. The magic is in you. The reason why we use a ritual is that creative energy inside of us, that force that allows us to direct the universe and manifest what we want, that needs to be focused. And most of us are not able to just sit there and think it. In theory, you can do that. You can just sit and think, I need ambulance. I need a new car, so I'll manifest riches. And some people can do that. They don't need anything more than that. It's just think it, boom, done. But for most of us, we need tools to do it. And that's where spells come into the picture. That is a way to focus or transfocus that creative energy. In addition, most spells include correspondences. And the purpose of correspondences is to add energy. Think of it like this. You are pushing a heavy cart up a hill. That is your spell. That is getting enough energy to get things going, get things to work. So you're pushing that cart up and you're pushing that cart up. Now, each correspondence you add that energetically resonate in the same direction is one more person helping you to push that cart up. You can push the cart up the hill yourself, but it will be a lot harder than to bring in more people to help you get that cart up. So therefore you will include correspondences. So, for example, moon phases, or color correspondences on candles, or stone correspondences, like for example I said with blue calcite for self-esteem and feeling good about yourself. All of these things add to it. So, as such, you can say that some spells are better written than others, in that it's a little bit the same as with poetry. It is very hard to say what is the best poem, because that's very individual. It has to be the one that speaks to you. But you can say that this poem has, the poet that has written this has a better grasp of language. It is technically written better. And as such, you have spells that are written very well, that has clever use of correspondences. One moment, I just need a sip of water. So that you can say. For example, take a spell that I really think is a very clever use of correspondences. And I first read it in Silver Raven's book, but I've seen it in many places. I don't exactly know who first made it. Anyway, it's this idea that let's say you want a situation to cool down, to stop, So you have time to think. You might write the situation down on a piece of paper, and you put that in an ice cube tray, and you pour water onto that, and you put it in the freezer. Or just write the name and you put that in the freezer. It uses the correspondence of cold to freeze or stop the situation. But it does it in a way that's open and available for most people, in a very fast, creative way. It's basically it. You immediately understand it while you're working it, because there's no point in using a correspondence that you don't connect with. If there is this ancient correspondence to a particular herb, where you don't know that correspondence, it's just there on the sheet, it doesn't do that much. It's if you connect with it. But you can connect with the idea of, oh, you're freezing the situation. But you have to connect with it. But basically, it's clever use of correspondence. So you can say that the spell can be very well written, but you still have to find something that works for you. So when people then ask me, oh, can you recommend me a book about with spells that work? No, I can't, because the spells don't work, you work. If you are a practiced, skilled spell worker, you can take any spell and you can make it work. Or at least change it so it works for you. But the thing that is a problem with this question is that it's a complete misunderstanding about what magic is and what it does. It is not about the spell that's guaranteed to work. Because if you have never cast a spell before in your life, and you decide to manifest something massive, chances are either it won't work, or it will take a long time to. Because you're not used to this. You're not used to gathering energies, connecting with various spiritual powers, and directing that energy where it needs to go. So it's about practice. It's about getting skilled with it. There are no shortcuts. It's not about, like in a lot of movies, where they find this dusty old spell book with their real spells that work, and then these people that have never ever done magic in their life cast a spell from there and everything goes poof. That's not how it works. Basically, you study the method, you practice, and when you get good at it, you find tools that serve you. For example, let's say I want to make a spell to find parking. I want it to be fast and easy, and one that can be used prior to leaving for work or the mall or whatever. And that will make it send out energy to make sure I find a parking spot. Okay, so I take a piece of cardboard and I basically draw up a parking lot. Draw up the lines, and I have one thing drawn in this where I just write up the name of my work or the mall, and I can use this several times. So I might just write my goal, my location, something like that, to indicate that, and then I have a parking lot. And I use little matchbook cars, and I put them around there. And then I have one matchbook car that I try to match the car I will be using as much as possible in color and so on and so forth. I might even write the name, basically the plate number, the car under it, all to make it more connected to my car. I might keep this car in the glove department, this little toy car in the glove department of my actual car for a week or so, to just let it steep in the energies of that car, to more make it a representation of my car. So like I said, I put different matchbook cars around the parking spots in my little drawn up lot. But I leave one open, one good one, right next to my goal. And then I just drive the matchbook car that represents my car into that lot. And I take a little birthday candle. Let me see, what can I use? A white for clarity, I think. And I just drip a drop of wax on top of the toy car. Put that birthday candle there. And I light it, and I say a chant to focus and send out that energy that I will find a parking lot. I might cast a quick circle before doing it, or I might just do it. Then the point is for this to be a couple of minutes working, nothing too strenuous, because it's meant to be used right before you leave. Now, for me, that spell would make sense. It has correspondences. It has connections to it. It's basically a form of puppet magic, really, where the puppet is a puppet of your car. But if... And so it will work for me. But if you basically then sit there and think, seriously, I'm an adult sitting here and playing with matchbox cars while thinking it will cause some sort of magic effect, then that isn't the right spell for you. So, really, I wish people, when they ask me the question, can you recommend a spell book with spells that work, at least said what system they want to work with. Do you want to do pop culture magic? Do you want to do hoodoo? Do you want Wiccan spells? Do you want traditional English witchcraft? Do you want Renaissance grimoire magic? What do you want? Because here's the thing. Take one of my favorite YouTubers. He has awesome videos. He might be a little bit stuck up, but he has awesome videos. Taliesin McKnight. He's very into Renaissance grimoire magic. So I bet my little car spell thing isn't up his alley. So if I said, see here, I have written a spell, Taliesin, here you are, he would probably go, yeah. But a fellow pop culture magician would think, oh, cool, a spell using matchbook cars, awesome, fun. Or, for example, I do a protective ritual using action figures from my youth. It's basically because I connect to them. I connect to them as images of protection from the various shows they're in. While a more traditional, let's say a Christian mystic, might use a rosary. So it really depends on what personally resonates with you. So, no, I can't recommend you a spell that does that. I can't tell you the spell that will work, because it's you that works, and not the spell. It isn't a quest for the perfect spell. I can tell you books that have, in my opinion, well-written spells, that where the prose is good and the correspondences are clever. I can recommend you books that have a lot of quick and dirty and easy spells the way I like them. I like my spell work to take a couple of minutes. Get it done, get it done. I can recommend you a book, Renaissance Grimoires, with that kind of spell work. Or European folk magic. I can recommend you spells of a certain category, but can you give me a money spell that work? No, I can't, because it depends on you and your relationship with various correspondences and with magic itself. It's very individual. And spells, like a wand or a broom or anything else, is just a tool. It's nothing more. It's a tool. So yeah, that's what else I have to say to that. I hope you have enjoyed this video. Have a great day, and blessed be.